Indoor dining is coming back, as well as access to concerts and sporting events in New York City. I've got some big announcements for you today. Watch till the end. We've got a lot to discuss. Hey everyone, it's John, and I don't make too many of these update videos anymore, but there are just some really big things on the horizon in the Big Apple that I felt it warranted its own video. So as usual, tell me your opinions in the comments. I'm really curious. We'll get started with what's opening today, and that is indoor dining as of Friday, February 12th at 25% capacity in New York City. And they did this intentionally because it is Valentine's Day weekend. Now, I've been reading that some very popular restaurants have already sold out reservations for Valentine's Day. Past this weekend, I don't know how eager everybody is to get back to indoor dining. You could argue that even though they technically prevented indoor dining for the last 2 months, it still existed in a different form. If you walked around Manhattan, Brooklyn, for example, all of these little quasi-indoor spaces to eat with separate doors. And I myself have, actually this past Wednesday, eaten outside. It wasn't one of those types of rooms. It just had one wall and we were sitting under a heat lamp. It was 35 degrees, and to be honest with you, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, as long as you're wearing a heavy jacket. It's kind of funny if you think about it, because limiting indoor dining at 25% and spacing out tables more in New York City is turning it into what you would expect outside of a big urban center. And for anybody who's ever sat sandwiched between other tables in Manhattan, where the table to your left and the table to your right is like 2 or 3 feet away from you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Although sometimes it was kind of fun because their conversation might have been more interesting than your conversation. On to a new development. Governor Cuomo this past Wednesday announced that concerts and sporting events can happen in New York City under certain conditions. The big one being that the venue needs to hold a minimum of 10,000 people, so Broadway is not on the list yet. They're gonna limit capacity right now to a maximum of 10%. This is going to be starting on February 23rd, where the Brooklyn Nets are gonna be hosting the Sacramento Kings with an actual paying audience. Now, they have a capacity of about 20,000, so a maximum of 2,000 people will be allowed entry, but it's all up to the Nets to decide how many people they actually want to admit. You're going to need a negative PCR test taken within 72 hours of the game. You're going to be required to have a face covering, and seats are going to be mandatory and socially distanced. Where to begin? I have so many questions about this. The first one is, how much will a ticket cost to go to a game when only 10% of the arena is open? Are seats going to be very expensive? Is it going to be through some kind of a lottery system? Are teams even going to make money on this? The second is, how will they prove that your PCR test is legit and that it wasn't photoshopped? And as somebody who took a COVID test about a month ago, sometimes you can't even get your PCR results within 72 hours, so there's that hurdle as well. Also, what kinds of face coverings will be acceptable? Neck gaiters, bandanas, will they serve food? Will they serve alcohol? Will people bring popcorn to their seats or one beer and nurse that the entire game, not wearing a mask? There's a lot of rules and a lot of regulations they've got to think about here. I could go on and on, but without official guidelines announced just yet, it's just a guess, and teams and concert venues are going to have to make their own decisions about how many people they admit and what the exact rules are. And I realize that concerts and sporting events are luxuries and they can really make whatever rules they want. I see this as a positive sign for, let's say, Major League Baseball in the spring to have attendance on opening day at Yankee Stadium or Citi Field. Will it be 100%? No way. Will it even be 50%? Probably not, but I do think it will be more than 10%, and having it outside, I think, is going to alleviate a lot of people's fear of going to a game versus going to an indoor arena. Everybody keeps saying that New York City tourism cannot return until Broadway reopens. I do realize that it is something that's very important to New York City as a cultural hub around the world. It's something that they're definitely thinking about right now, and I think they're gonna wait and see how it goes with the concerts and sporting events first. My prediction is when Broadway reopens, you are going to need a negative COVID test to get in, at least at first. It sounds so surreal, but I just think that it's the direction we're heading. A lot of things right now are banking on the pace of vaccine rollout in New York City. My hope is that by the end of the summer, we are gonna have a lot of things back that we haven't had access to before with the nicer weather. It's just a hope of mine. I wish I could answer the question of when will tourists from the UK or the EU be able to visit New York City again, but the truth is, I just don't know. I really hope that it will be by the end of 2021. 2021 is the year where things are transitioning back to some kind of a normal. It's gonna be better than 2020, I hope, but I don't think that New York City will be back to normal at any point this year, at least upon what you were probably used to visiting, let's say, in 2019. But now I need your input. What are your thoughts on these reopenings in New York City? Will you go to indoor dining? Will you go to a Nets game? Will you go to a concert at Madison Square Garden? Why or why not? Tell me down below in the comments. I want to know. Make sure to smash that like button. Guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, until next time.